also smell. This is called brie. It's got the white mould on the outside. Okay? And these two are cheddar style cheeses. Heard of cheddar? Very common cheddar. Because this has got a food additive to it called amygdala. And this is an aged cheddar. So cheeses basically go from young, fresh, like ricotta, and then they go all the way to parmesan, which is very old cheese. And they change flavours as they go along, and different foods match with different aged cheeses. That's a blue cheese. As you can tell, it's got blue all through. Right, what's your questions?
What cheese go with what kind of wine?
Oh, good question. Okay, so when you're thinking about wine and cheese matching, you're thinking about a couple of things. You want to match intensity. So something that's light, like a young cheese, you can match it with something like a young white wine, like something zesty and fruity. And as it gets older, you match it with older cheeses and maybe red cheeses. But you have to be careful. You just think when you're matching cheeses, think of complement, not complement means right, contrast and counterbalance. So to give you an example, this cheese is quite salty and tangy. So it goes very well with sweet wines like port, Tokay, and things like honey. You can dribble honey on that because it contrasts the salt and the sweet. So maybe this cheese here, this has got a mould on the outside and it's a very sort of yeasty smell. And it's very creamy. So something that goes well with that is champagne, because champagne's got like a bubbly, yeasty smell to it. And also the bubbles, it cuts through the cream. You know what I mean? Like on your palate, it cleanses your palate. So, you just have to trial and error and just think about matching intensity. So the bigger the cheese, the bigger the wine. And the lighter the cheese, the lighter the wine.
Tim, we found out that you were inspired by a Filipino.
Yes, that's right.
So
you want that story?
Yes,
okay.
Of course you want that story.
So I was just mentioning earlier that when I was growing up, I lived in Japan, in Tokyo, and my parents were working for the Australian Wheat Board. And they had a very busy life there. And I was brought up by a Filipino lady called Anita, and she was an excellent cook, fantastic. She was trained with the French family, and she cooked all our meals, and I spent a lot of time with her. She was a wonderful lady, and she lived with us. And whenever she was cooking, we did a lot of functions in our houses, and whenever we did, I was always there watching her doing it. And she's somewhere in the Philippines, supposedly, so...
Is it the one that inspired you?
Sorry?
Did she inspire you?
She did, definitely, absolutely. Because I'm in catering now, that's what I do, I've got a catering business, so it's about feeding lots of people and entertaining and managing functions and whatnot, and basically that's what she was doing in our household often, if not every weekend we'd have functions on. So I was watching her do all that, cooking. So she played an interesting role in my upbringing and in my culinary life.
Did you manage to find her?
I haven't found her. From her? I think from what I learned from Anita was that she was very good at this fusion style food. So she was French trained, we lived in Japan, and she was very capable of Filipino food, and she was able to bring those all together and she created really modern, what you call now fusion, which she was doing a long time ago. So I think I learned a lot. I can't pinpoint exactly. I think it was just an understanding of food and entertaining, and she really understood the art of the table. Sitting down and sharing food. So she told me lots of stories about the Philippines when I was a young kid, right, before I even came here. So I'm very fond of this country and the people that live here.
So what do you think is the main challenge if you're hoping to satisfy the Filipino palate?
Right, okay, that's a big question. Wow. Look, I thought it would be more challenging, to be honest. When I bring out cheeses like this that are obviously instinctively unusual, if you came across food that was covered in mould, you wouldn't want to eat it. But I think with the rise of food shows and cooking shows and appreciation of wine and matching foods, I think it's, to be honest, I don't think there's a huge challenge. I think it's about exposure and getting people to taste it and everyone's open to new food now, just the way we live. You know? Thank you. Thanks, guys. Oh, yeah.
Yes, Chef, this is the first time actually that I've tried an all-Australian cheese spread.
Okay.
So each one is very distinct.
Sure.
And I was particularly struck by the lavender.
Oh, you like that,
Yeah,
did you?
so how was that particular flavor achieved? It was very subtle, but it was
Very subtle. So it's about infusing flavours. That's a very modern style
Right.
cheese. So you've got fruit cheeses and things like that. People are just being creative and experimental like they are with food. So through the cheese making process, they would have put the lavender in there and just let it infuse.
very
Good.
intention.
That's been very popular
Exactly.
amongst everyone here tonight. Probably the most popular. Sorry? What's the difference? There's not a lot of difference anymore, but generally speaking, I mean, traditionally what it is that brie was a bigger wheel, the bigger one, and then camembert was smaller, and these are both bries, and they've got, one's a triple cream and one's a double cream. You don't really get that with camembert. They're just a straight sort of fat content. I'm just guessing here, I think it's about 45% fat or something like that, whereas the bries can get up to 75%. So, but look, there's not a lot of difference anymore. It's the same Penicillium candidum as the mould on top. It's very similar these days because that's a brie and it's a small wheel. Traditionally that would be the camembert size.
What's the best wine for
Best wine for brie would be probably champagne because it's got a really it's got a very yeasty smell to it, and this also has a yeasty, mushroomy.
Have you tried some of the Filipino cheese? Like
I've heard about your cheeses, and I'm keen to try it. I've heard you make blue cheese. Yeah, someone was telling me about the Filipino cheeses. Keen to try.
Chef, what's your favorite food?
My favourite food,
What do you eat at home?
style or at home? Wow. Melbourne's a great place for eating. We've got it's a melting pot of so many different cultures. I love Japanese food still to this day. I love Italian food. I like it all. You know, as long as it's fresh and good quality, I'm happy with that for sure. I don't understand that much about Filipino food, so maybe that's something I can explore over the next few years.
Yes.
I better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you.